photos here on display. There are even some back in the restaurant. Look around and see those. So from a lot of different places around the U.S., including Indianapolis, but also a lot of other countries and places like that. So, so I'll read just a handful of poems, and if you have any questions or comments, please chime in, and be happy to chat about that. So anyway, that's good. Well, the first one, sometimes poems just sort of come to you as something, if you're out poetry, you know this, just as something just silly sometimes, and other times, it's just kind of fun. Other times, you deliberately want to write about an issue or something like that. So this first one is called Track 2 for Bucharest, and I have no idea. People say, where do you get these ideas? It's like, I don't know. I just have them. And if I'd say them, I would have a number of paper napkins, at least. I hope they're paper. Anyway, from different restaurants and places where I would, a line would come to me, and I'd start writing it down. And scribble down and try to read my own handwriting if I could to get home and type it down and something like that. So anyway, so track 2 for Bucharest. If I were to be a spy, I'd call myself Gomez. A delicious name sounding so spyish to me, yet innocuous to those seeking my secrets. Cohorts would slip into my pew in the back of churches, place a fat envelope of euros in an uncommon book of prayer. Gomez, they'd whisper, pretending to be reciting responses to the priest, as we're now genuflecting. Go to Bucharest, they say. Haughty dowagers boarding ahead of me on the way to a plain-name man in Bucharest. The one very next is on this blue poster up here. That's a windmill that was on our farm up in Jay County, northeast of Muncie. I don't know if it's still there or not, but originally would have had one of those round things on the top, but didn't have it, at least in my childhood, when it came along. So, so this is the poem from that. Farming is, as I indicated in this poem, is the hardest work you can do. Like you may argue that about factory work or something else and so forth, but it's really, really hard. It never stops. Everything needs to be paid on Christmas and all this kind of stuff, and you're constantly working and so forth. So this is called Multiples on a Hoosier Farm. The bales of hay kept flying through the mile window into the air, wishing for some of the dreadful heat of months before and months to come. The work never ended. No factory whistle, no closed sign on shop doors. Standing at the small bathroom window, looking west, we could see thousands of corn stalks, ears awash in silk, reminding us of the work to come before being called away for chores. Today I am a grasshopper, the son of ants, a city boy living on a tiny plot of land, buying food all winter long at the grocery. On our old farm, the corn is growing fast, getting ready to tassel, getting ready to wait. The ants are stacking bales in the mound. My parents never encouraged me to be a farmer. They knew how hard it was, and that we only had 80 acres, which in a city, if you had 80 acres along Mass Ave, that would be really nice. 80 acres in rural Jay County, that didn't mean much. So it's a whole different kind of thing. So it was unless you're growing pot, which we didn't know at the time.
Oh my!
Not that lucrative.
We had the corn grow up first, and then cleaned it out in the middle, and they didn't have plants looking for it at that time. Right? Just a fantasy.
If only they had known about pot.
That's right. I know.
So, did you have high school students come to your farms and detassel corn?
No, that was us. I don't know when that started. That's not something we did. I know I had nieces and nephews who did that.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people I've met did it when they were in high school.
We didn't do that. So I don't know why or why not or whatever, but we just had the corn, right? And
yeah.
You rotate the crops around because each crop puts something into the ground and takes something out. So you can't grow corn, or soybeans over more than 2 years in a row. I mean, more than a year in a row. So you switch them around.
Soybeans.
We had corn, soybeans, wheat, and oats. So this is the fourth thing. And then we leave a field just fallow. So it would just grow wild, and then we'd bale that for hay, and then the next year that would become corn or soy, whatever. And my dad would keep track of what we weighed and stuff like that. Because if you did it, and as I said, it put stuff into it, but also took too much whatever nitrogen or whatever out of the soil, and we would have a bad crop, and we wouldn't do that. So yeah, so you have to be careful about those kinds of things. But then people also would knock down old fences and enlarge their fields and stuff, and because you had the old way people did it when my dad was young. They had horses and so forth before even tractors, and which he hated because the horses would always kick and destroy the fences and stuff. And he was not a horse fan anyway to do that. So there was that. Yeah. So, but the next one is also here. This little brown girl, 1927, is up here. The photo is a detail along Indiana Avenue of the Madam C.J. Walker Theater building,
Right here.
and that the image on the poster actually is larger.
It's beautiful.
I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Larger than the actual image, on the building. As you go along, you see these small figures, the facial figures and other kinds of things. They call it Africanist architecture. So, so I write about this is Little Brown Girl, 1927, and this was the year that an artist named John Wesley Hardwick painted the portrait of Little Brown Girl that's in the collection of the IMA in Newfields. And so it's just by chance, 1927 is also when the Walker was built, the same year. It was of the same year as I think the Gilbert Theater and so forth. So so this was looking at the portraits. Hardwick was one of 4 African American men who worked at what was the predecessor of the IMA of Newfields for painters, and he did a lot of landscapes and things like this. But they had a spatial exhibition about 15 years ago by now of the works of the 4 men. I don't remember the names of the other guys. And the Little Brown Girl was the cover of the booklet that had to do with the. I think it's a very, very beautiful photo painting. It's just a soulful look of this young woman. So this poem reflects on that. Looking into the future, does the seriousness in your face tell us you know what is to come? Strange group in your own Indiana, your 4 little sisters in Birmingham, dogs ripping flesh, the voices of Medgar Martin becoming untimely silent. Or does it show quiet amazement at the rising of a people you fear doomed never to overcome? Instead, you see laughing little brown girls, confident, prosperous, risen. I've been writing a series of short poems on each of my uncles. Ooh. And since I have first cousins, I'm not prepared to share the poems, most of them, because they're not necessarily complimentary. But
you can change their names.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know they're your cousins. Yeah. We retracted.
One good to reach you had no children, so I said. But anyway, so I decided to, even though I had an aunt who passed away long before I was born, I never married, I still wrote a poem about the person who might have been her husband. So that sort of might have been uncles, even in the poems and so forth. But this is my Uncle Millard, who was my mother's brother. Songs of My Uncles is the title of the whole series. I would read one of them. We rarely saw him, made to live in Colorado because her home was there. She reluctantly came to Indiana, down from the Rockies to the horrid flat country, stared at the bumps we called hills, visited impatiently, then returned eagerly home, nervously looking out the window at the straight-lined horizon. No children ever darkened the doors, save for the likes of us. When we arrived in her mountains, he eagerly opened his arms and brought us close to him, smelling of aqua velva and whiskey. She drove him to it, my mother always said. My nearly sole memory of our one visit. Every day we were there, my aunt with short, harsh sweets, got up the dirt only she could see, staring out the door at our car, waiting for us to drive away to our puzzling flatlands. Several years ago, I was fortunate to be a recipient. There were 3 of us who were chosen to have our poems put on bus stops along the Cultural Trail down on Virginia Avenue in Fountain Square area and Culture Place. Well, mine was taken down so they could put up the Red Line bus stop. It's still down after several years, but the ironic thing of reading here is that finally, hopefully by the end of this year, it's going to go up somewhere right along here, up near where Indy Reese was, along this area. They had to go through city government, state government, and got through the federal government, and having worked with the federal government, I can sympathize. It's taken literally years to get it repositioned and put up and so forth. So the poem I'm going to read you is the one that I'd rather use phrases of different sizes of type and stuff like that. Then when the sun goes through, you can see them on the sidewalk and stuff. So it's really fun. I'm very anxious to get it back up. It probably will have been about 6 or 7, 8 years by the time it gets back up. And
Oh, Lord.
so, I agree. Yes. Why wasn't ready? Just move it from there to another place. So finally, it's going to get more foot traffic here. But anyway, so somewhere. Okay. So this is the poem called "The Bowl of Possible Peace." It took me a long time to learn to call them peas. Today I slipped up, surprised after years of using the right word, and saying, I'm going to have some more beans. Do you want any? And my wife, either not hearing or finally resigned to my words, said no. Peas to me are pods filled with round balls of bright green that we grow in our truck patch, not the black-eyed sort that I now eat every first day of January. For good luck, she said with determination and certainty, as she stirred up beans, now peas, on her first New Year's in 1971. We have to eat black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. My childhood was green, rows of corn, fields of soybeans, the garden of carrot tops, sweet potato vines, tomato plants, and pea pods getting ready for snapping. Her growing up was brown, the color of skin segregated to city playgrounds, worn too thin. I ran free in a green world, dashing barefoot between rows of field corn, the sharp-edged leaves slicing at my shins, knowing nothing of black eyes by any name, or how one must never forget to seek the luck needed to get through another year. I'll read one more for you. This is Barefoot Meetings, and this one, like some of the others, is on the CD and or in the book. I work for myself now, but I thought of this poem, I think, from having gone to far too many meetings. Yes, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Barefoot Meeting. I write poems in meetings when bored with the present, inspired by the past. My dreams, my scribbles, recall a barefoot boy and a long-haired dog running along the creek on warm summer evenings, living such a life that demanded remembered. If it weren't for the drudgery of meetings, they could be vital writing places where the muse leans over and says, here's a line, kid, get busy. While others drone on in prose that lacks action verbs and brevity, my toes sealed in dress socks and shoes secretly feel the warm mud of poetry. Okay. I'll stop there.
Beautiful. Yes. I'll clap it on your bird. Okay.
There's a
Thank you.
good menu. You're welcome. Thank you. Good menu, lots of wine. If anyone has any questions, comments?
Your name for social pages, the names of your books, and where they can find them.
Okay. I have 2 books still in print. They're here. Marjorie Main, World Documentary Poetry, and the other one is War Stories, a memoir of Nigeria and Biafra. You can get them. Well, I have an Etsy store. I mean, they can be ordered from there. You can just, if you're in town, you can just contact me and get them from me. I'm on Facebook, and Instagram and a few things like that, can be
Okay.
found that way, yeah.
And then give your name and then the name of your Etsy store. I do this all
Okay.
day.
John Sherman, Sherman. The Etsy store is it's one word, Artful Words, and it ends in Z instead of S. ARTFULWORDZ, Artful Words.
Okay, awesome.
Artful,
All right.
yeah.
Thank
And
you.
it has a lot of my photos on there and books, and and also these posters of the poetry and photography. Yeah. I've got 40 some of these posters. There's 3 or 4 here.
I'm gonna get in just a minute. I want to make sure that your contact information
Yes,
is on
okay.
here.
And also my CD is called Home, and that's some of the poems I read are on there as well.
That's on like Amazon or all the main live streams.
I think, well, I'm not sure you can find it. Some of my books you can find on Amazon that are out of print, like I did.
The CD,
Yeah, the CD in my Etsy store. It's on there.
Etsy store. Okay.
That's the best way.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.